Welcome back to another episode of War in Cali. In this episode, I'm going to detail one of Los Angeles' most known gangs, the Rollin 40 Crips. The Rollin 40 Crips, also known as the Rollin 40 Neighborhood Crips and the Glove Gang, are one of the biggest and most known Crip gangs on the west side of South Central LA. The Rollin 40s have been around for over 40 years, but them being well established by the 80s, they are a part of the Rollin No car and also the Neighborhood Crip car. The Rollin 40s consist of 4 cliques under the 40 umbrella, being their western side, the dark side, park side, along with the avenue. The Rollin 40 territory stretches from areas like Vernon Ave to Lamert to Crenshaw to Fed. The Rollin 40 Crips will gain several rivals all throughout South Central, from Bloods and also Crip sets. They will take on blood gangs like the Rollin 20 Bloods, BPS, and all of the Brim sets. That includes the Fruit Towns, Finesse, and also the Harvard Park Brims, as well as the Hoovers, who will become one of the 40's top enemies. Since the 70s, Crips and Bloods are automatic rivals, but the late 70s and the early 80s, many gangs will become rivals, and the whole Hoover car, who were once Crips in the 70s and 80s, and the Rollin 40s, will go to war. They will start beefing in the early 80s over several incidents between the two gangs. This will lead out to an all-out war between the two gangs that currently still goes on. The Hoovers had sets from 4 Trey to 11 Deuce Hoover holding it down. That's a lot of territory. With the Hoovers having a lot of members, with their territory stretching all over South Central, and them having several sets, this will be a hard game to go up against. With the 40s being closest to the 4 Trey Hoovers, they went at them the hardest, and over the years, the 4 Treys will lose a lot of members from this beef, jail, and lack of new recruits. So over time, the 4 Trey Hoovers territory will face a dramatic change, and the 40s will take over that area, and now the area is known as the Dark Side, one of the 40s' most known cliques. The 40s are also known to be for other Crip gangs, like the Trouble Gangsta Crips, the A-Trey Gangsta Crips, and the Broadway Gangsta Crips, among others. Out of all the enemies they have a good amount of allies. The Rollin 40 Crips are on good terms with gangs like the Rollin 30 Crips, and also all the gangs in the Neighborhood Crip car, which includes gangs from the 50s to the 100s. Even though the Rollin 40 Crips have several allies that have went to war with them in the past, they had past deadly beefs with the Rollin 30 Crips, and also the Rollin 60 Crips at a point. But with that being said, we did some history of the 40s, and let's get into some cases. On August 17th, 2001, Tamika and her boyfriend Anthony planned to spend the night at the Baldwin Hills Motor Inn. They arrived there at midnight, and Anthony paid for their room. Afterwards, they will park in the parking lot. As they got out their car and began grabbing things to go to their room, Tamika noticed 3 men approaching them, 1 Mexican and 2 black. 2 of the men pulled guns on Anthony and Tamika, and the Mexican man said to Anthony, "Where you from, cuz?" Anthony and Tamika said they were grown and that they didn't gangbang. The Mexican man said, "Give me all your money and give me everything you got." Tamika began to hand over her jewelry, and one of the black males snatched her chains off her neck. This made Anthony mad. He said, "This what you want? You can have this. Who are y'all anyway to approaching me asking where I'm from?" He said he was a grown man, and then the Mexican man told his homie to dome Anthony. Tamika begged for his life, but that didn't matter. The Mexican man shot Anthony in the face. Anthony suffered from 5 gunshot wounds, including a fatal wound to the head. The group of 3 men then ran away. This case wouldn't be solved till almost 2 years later. Hersey, who also went by the name Tiny Dart, a man named Dog, and the Mexican shooter was a man named Dopey, who also went by the name Little S.A. They all was from the Rollin 40 Crips. They were all involved in a robbery and also the killing of Anthony. Hersey was the youngest of the group, and the police used that against him and got him to tell on the rest of the group. Hersey would say that him, Dog, and Dopey went to the hotel looking for someone to rob, and that's exactly when they saw the victims. He said Dopey ran up to them and counted to 5 when they didn't get a jury up. He said that's exactly when he shot Anthony in the face. Hersey said he was holding a .380 and he tried shooting the man as well, but he said his gun jammed. Tamika would later get the police the same story, and this would get Hersey and Dopey life sentences. On July 4th, 2004, around 9:30 p.m., a BPS member known as D-Dog and another person was shot and killed on August Street in BPS territory known as the Jungles. Around an hour later, Darlene was in an alley outside of her residence near 43rd Street. She was chilling with a man named Derek, and he was wearing blue. They were in the Rollin 40's turf. Out of nowhere, 2 men approached them. They said nothing and made no reference to any gang, but they began shooting at them. Derek and Darlene began to run to her porch, where Derek was shot, but when the shooting was over, one of the shooters was laid out dead. His name was Little Boulay from BPS. He was found dead trying to put in some work, and he died accidentally being shot by the homie he came with. A BPS member named J-Mo was later questioned about this, and he started telling. He told police that a man named Mayhem and Little Boulay went on a mission to kill a Rollin 40, but Little Boulay jumped in the way when Mayhem was shooting and caught a gunshot wound to the head. Mayhem was from the Rollin 20 Bloods, an allied hood of BPS. He would be picked up on July 14, 2004. He denied knowing Little Boulay and also denied being involved in the shooting. But with evidence against him, Mayhem would crack. He said he heard shots and saw D-Dog laying on August Street in an alley. Mayhem was told that the Rollin 40 gang was the ones that did it. Little Boulay and another man and him wanted revenge. But this would cost Little Boulay his life, and no 40s were killed in this incident. Mayhem would later receive life for this killing. On October 2nd, 2006, Angel was standing at a busy intersection when he heard gunshots. He saw Chris standing next to the open front passenger door of a red car. Chris was pointing a gun downward angle at a victim, who was later identified as a man named Ernest. Chris fired his gun one last time and got back into his car, which sped away. Angel later identified the killer as the driver and Chris as the shooter. Ernest would die from 6 gunshot wounds. As they tried to escape the scene, police would pursue them and they would take the police on the chase, but both men were later caught. Ernest was a member of the Rollin 40 Crips, and he would get into an altercation with Akil and also Chris. They were from the East Coast Crips, which is an ally to the 40s. This was an isolated incident and personal beef, with several witnesses at the scene, and Kill and Chris were later both sentenced to life. On January 12, 2008, Aaron and several friends went to a party in West LA. A fight started at the front of the line, and security officers used pepper spray to break up the fight and shut the party down. Webb was from the Rollin 40 Crips, and his crew also went to the January 12th party. A few weeks earlier, Webb had attended another party at the same location. Webb's friend got into an altercation with a person, which Webb would intervene and support his homie. Webb and others were later detained by security. Webb later told another friend that a big dude tried to bang on him, and if he seen him again, it would be on. Before the January 12th party, Webb's friend Ellsworth told Webb not to bring anything, by which he mean not to bring a gun. At the January 12th party, Webb and his friends were at the party, where security shut it down. There were a lot of people in the street, and several fights would happen. Webb and his friends would get into a car, and they would try to leave. Webb's girlfriend gave Webb the gun from her purse as the group was driving away. Webb said he wanted to get out of the car, and his friends got out with him. Webb and his group would pass 2 guys at the entrance of an alley, which happened to be Aaron and his friend Napoleon. Napoleon was around 6'4" and weighed about 250 pounds. He was the man that Webb was looking for from the previous party. Webb kept mugging him, so Napoleon pressed him and asked what he was looking at. Webb would then pull his gun from his back. Napoleon said, "Oh shit." Webb fired the gun. Webb then ran away, but Aaron was fatally shot in the throat. Webb's friends heard the gunshots, then ran to the car, and Webb followed when they drove away. Napoleon later identified Webb from a photo lineup, and he told law enforcement he recognized Webb from several parties. With several witnesses at the scene, Webb was later picked up at home, and he had several things referring to him being a Rollin 40 Crip. This put him to the crime. Webb would later be sentenced to life. Britton was a member of the Rollin 40 Crips. On a night in December in 2007, he went to a party with Gerard, Tamika, and a woman named Sheree. When the party ended, him and a group of other people went to a nearby AM/PM gas station. Britton stayed in the car while his friends went in the gas station. Tamika and Sheree would get into an altercation with 2 people associated with the Fruittown Brims, which is a known blood gang. The group would get back in the car, and they would tell Britton about the altercation at the AM/PM. Britton became angry and said, "Let's get him." He stopped at another gas station, and they eventually headed back to the AM/PM where the altercation took place. By that point, the crowd at the AM/PM had dispersed, but Britton spotted 2 cars across the street at a Walgreens and said, "There they go right there." Britton pulled out a gun and put it on his lap, and he followed 2 cars at a Walgreens parking lot. He sped up until he was alongside the cars, and he would tell Sheree to put her seat all the way back, and he raised the window down. Tamika and Sheree were screaming and told Britton not to do it, but Britton fired multiple shots in a neighboring car, and he caught up to the second car and also fired more shots into that car. That car had a 15-year-old girl inside the car, and she would be shot in the head, killing her almost instantly. When Britton was picked up, he would say that he was intending to drive home when he saw 2 cars approaching him. He claimed that he was trying to let the 2 cars pass by, which one of the females he was with unexpectedly fired shots at the car, which wasn't true. Britton would later receive 212 years to life. On March 12, 2009, after visiting a few people in the 40s that he knew, Thomas was walking back to his car when Cheddar Bob, a Rollin 40 member, called out to him and asked him for a ride to his girlfriend's house, which was a few blocks away, unaware that Cheddar Bob was going to their location to get a gun. When they arrived, Thomas waited for Cheddar Bob to come back, and while waiting, Thomas turned his car around and pulled over. Cheddar Bob came back within a few moments and sat in the front passenger seat of Thomas' car without saying anything. Cheddar Bob then pulled out a gun and aimed at Thomas' head and fired, shooting Thomas once in the head, neck, and immediately paralyzing him. Still conscious, Thomas watched as Cheddar Bob went through his pockets and taking all the money that he had out of his pockets. He would then get out the car and run towards 48th Street. For 20 minutes, Thomas sat in his car gasping for air while cars would drive by, when eventually someone stopped, saw Thomas' condition, and called for help. Thomas told paramedics that Cheddar Bob from 40 shot him. Cheddar Bob was later arrested that night with the money and the same gun that he shot Thomas with. Thomas was in a coma, but when he woke up, he picked Cheddar Bob as the man that shot him. Cheddar Bob DNA was all over Thomas' car, and he even picked Cheddar Bob out on the stand. This shooting got Cheddar Bob life. On October 31st, 2012, College USC Student Association held a Halloween party in USC's Tudor Campus Center. The party had a lot of people there, even a lot of gang members. So around 11:38 p.m., Brandon, who was a member of BPS, was flamed up. He was wearing all red. Brandon seen Gino from Rollin 40s outside of the entrance to the party area. Brandon asked Gino where was he from, and Gino replied, Rollin 40s. BPS and the Rollin 40s are longtime bitter rivals. Brandon fired 6 shots at Gino and 3 other people that he was with. Brandon fled after the shooting, but was later arrested in a nearby parking lot. LAPD officers seized and searched Brandon's phone. Once they got into his phone, they viewed images and video of Brandon's cell phone, and they included photos of him holding a gun, and also taking photos with BPS members. They also saw videos of Brandon shooting at a gun range, videos of him and other BPS members chasing people down and asking them where they was from, and also just photos of Brandon throwing up his hood. They would use these photographs and videos, along with other information, to obtain search warrants for Brandon and Gino's cell phones, and also their Twitter accounts. Some of the photos and videos shown at trial was evidence from Brandon, and Gino's Twitter accounts was also introduced at trial, showing they engaged in Twitter beef. Gino was a well-known Rollin 40 member, and was even a star football player at Crenshaw High School. In 2009, Gino was named the City Section Player of the Year, and was a wide receiver, and he was one of the best players on the team. That team featured NFL star Anthony Thomas. With many people at that party, it would be many witnesses, and many people would come forth against Brandon, which Brandon was later sentenced to life.
21-year-old Brandon Spencer of Inglewood bangs his head as a judge sentences him to 40 years to life after he was convicted of shooting a rival gang member at a 2012 Halloween party on the USC campus. The violence just 6 months after 2 Chinese students were murdered in an apparent robbery just off campus. Since then, USC security has been beefed up. Today, in LA Superior Court, Spencer begged for mercy from Judge Edmund Clark Jr. before sentencing.
I'm sorry for what happened, Your Honor, but I need to life in prison. And I'm not a bad person, but I made mistakes. I'm not just some gangbanger that she tried to portray me as.
During sentencing, Spencer completely broke down.
The minimum period of parole eligibility is 15 years plus 25 years to life in accordance with Penal Code Section 12022. 3D. This is to be concurrent with...
Annie and her daughter Marlisha lived together in a home, which was in the territory of the Hoovers. The home was close to the Rollin 40 Crips, which was a big rival of the Hoovers. Marlisha's boyfriend, Michael, was an A-Tray Hoover. On the morning of June 28, 2014, Annie was the right front passenger in Michael's car, while Marlisha was in the back seat behind her. As they traveled to visit Annie's sister, Michael parked in a liquor store parking lot and waited while Marlisha went inside the store to make a purchase. As she returned, Marlisha saw a car, and she immediately recognized the truck and who was in it, as she had seen them before and knew they was from the Rollin 40 Crips. Michael drove out the parking lot and stopped at a red light. Soon, the car would appear aside of him and asked Michael where was he from, which Michael responded, Hoover. They replied with this is the Hoover, and as Michael attempted to make a right turn to get away, people in the other car started firing multiple shots into the driver's side of Michael's car. Michael would then make a turn, but the car had been struck up. He got shot one in the back and also one in the ass. Annie was also shot in her hip, and another bullet grazed Marlisha in the left thigh. This shooting left the car riddled. Police later stopped and arrested a man named Carl, as he was driving the same car near 46th Street and Vermont Avenue. He was in a Rollin 40's turf. All of this was on camera, and this got him life. Around 10 p.m. on May 13th, 2013, Terrence was sitting in the driver's seat of his car parked outside of an apartment complex located on 42nd Street. A car would then stop next to his car and then drive off, and moments later, come back. A black man was driving the car, and a black woman was in the front passenger seat. The woman looked towards Terrence, then the driver. The driver then exited the car. The man then yelled, "What's up, Hoov?" Then yelled distance to the Rollin 40 Crips. Then he started firing his gun at Terrence. He hit Terrence in the leg. Then Terrence played dead inside his car until the man jumped back into his car and drove away. Terrence was later transported to the hospital. And David, both members of the Hoovers, were later picked up for multiple shootings, including the shooting of Terrence. They also shot a member of the Menlo Crips. These shootings got them both life. Darrell was a member of the Rollin 40 Crips. On August 31st, 2016, he drove his car to 54th Street in the Van Ness Gangsta Rams turf. He would catch a man named Keenan and kill him. There's many cameras in the area, which would catch his license plate leaving the area. His iPhone will also be tracked to the area of the shooting, and this would get him life in jail. Now in current times, the 40's been in the media a lot, with rappers like X4 and personalities like 4Extras taking over the internet. People like 4Extras and X4, among many others, are giving the 40's a voice outside of California. They have been a household name, and with many members holding it down, looks like they're gonna keep it that way. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.